News. The Bengals have given defensive end Trey Hendrickson permission to seek a trade. Oh, by the way, he was the league leader in sacks last season with 17, but he is eligible for an extension along with Jamar Chase. We have to bring in two of the best minds in this space, NFL analyst Mina Kimes and senior NFL writer Bill Barnwell on this one. Hendrickson follows the news that the Chargers released their longtime defensive end Joey Bosa. Mina, the Bengals already lost Sam Hubbard to retirement, and they were famously ranked 25th in defense last season. So what does all this mean for Cincinnati?
Well, let's start with the good news. I think it means they're keeping T. Higgins, so the band stays together on offense. We were wondering all offseason how they would pay him, Jamar Chase, and Trey Hendrickson. My feeling is that they'll be able to... Oh, pardon me, my mic fell off. Let me put that back up. Okay, you should be able to hear me now.
We can still hear you,
Talking about that. So, yeah, my feeling is they should be able to pay T. Higgins and keep the offense together and hopefully win every game, 42-40 or whatnot. Defensively, though, is where the challenge is. And, Al, you highlighted this. Trey Hendrickson wasn't just the NFL sacks leader. He was the Bengals sacks leader by an overwhelming margin. He had over 80 pressures. The next three Bengals edge rushers combined were less than that. So now you have to rebuild not only this pass rush, but really this entire defense with the new defensive coordinator in Al Golden. I do not envy him, frankly. They have to draft better. They're not going to have a ton of money in free agency, but there's a little bit of maneuverability there. But yeah, it's a tall task for this defense.
Yeah, you saw Bengals players upset about this move on social media. Trey Hendrickson is a superstar. 26 sacks created last season. Nobody else in the National Football League had more than 14 and a half. He nearly lapped the field in terms of creating sacks for himself and for his teammates. And there are going to be a lot of teams around the NFL who see Trey Hendrickson as maybe that final piece to the puzzle, the thing to put them over the top maybe. I look at a team like maybe the Atlanta Falcons, where they have been looking for a pass rusher, since John Abraham left about 15 years ago. Trey Hendrickson could be a guy who puts them over the top, is a difference maker for them. That's going to be a guy where a lot of teams are going to have a call today and say, hey, should we be making a big investment and calling the Bengals about trading for Trey Hendrickson?
I think that's what prompted this. I think the Bengals saw that Max Crosby contract and they were like, turns out we're not that into you, actually. But you mentioned it, Mina. Their approach of just trying to outscore everybody, it really worked out swimmingly for them last year, so why panic? The Browns are making some moves, too. Field Yates reporting that they once again restructured Deshaun Watson's contract, clearing $36 million in cap space. Cleveland had been $22 million over the cap. Watson has 2 years left on that fully guaranteed deal, but he is going to miss most of next season with an Achilles injury. So another restructuring for Watson. Browns also have the second pick in the draft. What's the move here, Mina? What should they do?
I would be shocked if they don't take a quarterback in the draft. This is not a great group of quarterbacks in free agency, even if it was. The Browns don't have a lot of money, even with some of that cleared up. And picking where they are at 2, they're going to have options. I think the question, though, for them is if they have a preference, say Cam Ward out of Miami, who a lot of folks, myself included, have as quarterback 1, are you confident that he is going to fall to you at 2, much like my microphone did earlier, or do you have some concerns not only that Tennessee might take him, but also that another team might want to leapfrog you, say the Giants, the Raiders, to get to that number 1 spot? So there's going to be a lot of conversation between now and the draft about whether or not the Browns actually do have to move up from that 2 spot to get a quarterback. But Bill, I would be shocked if they don't draft a passer.
Yeah, either with the first overall pick or the second overall pick, coming away with some sort of quarterback solution is essential for the Cleveland Browns. Not just to fix their offense, but maybe to make their star defender happy in Myles Garrett. This offense with Deshaun Watson last year was just abysmal. Before he got injured, they were in the bottom 12 since 2007 in QBR, third down conversion rate, points per drive. This was one of the worst offenses in NFL history, at least recent NFL history. So getting Myles Garrett on board with maybe a better quarterback, signs of life, signs that you're heading in the right direction on offense might be not only a thing to fix your offense, but also to convince your star edge rusher he wants to stay in Cleveland.
Wants that too. Over to American football. Cowboys getting their finances in order. They did so yesterday. Dak Prescott, $36 million. They restructured the deal. Cap space money comes with that. That's after doing CeeDee Lamb's deal. They redid that. In all, $56 million in cap space. Adam Schefter talked about their plans on Get Up today.
You need a baseline of money to be able to try to re-sign some of your own free agents, which they want to do, like Jordan Lewis, like Rico Dowdle, maybe DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons. You want to pay your own guys. You need money to pay your draft class. You need money to have flexibility. It's not like they're not going to spend in free agency, but it's not like they're going to jump into the market and all of a sudden sign 5 different players to premium prices. By restructuring these contracts, they've given themselves the flexibility that they need to address certain needs. This doesn't lead to some spending spree. That's not where they're going with this. This allows them the flexibility to do what they feel like they need to make sure that this roster is intact.
And they have to make sure it's intact because the Super Bowl champions in their division, the Commanders are on the up. Mike Tannenbaum, senior NFL writer, Bill Barnwell, joining us now to talk all things Cowboys. Mike, I'll start with you. Schefter kind of laid the groundwork there for what they want to do this offseason. But what does help them outside to bring in to Dallas?
You know, Matt, when you're constructing your team, the highest and best use of every dollar is really consequential. And this year, draft a running back. There's so many good running backs. And look, Rico Dowdle played well, but let him graduate into free agency. But when we talk about guys like Ashton Genty, Omarion Hampton, Caleb Johnson, Trayshawn Junkins, Travion Henderson, on and on and on, Matt, there will be a running back. If they don't get him in the first round, certainly the second round. So when you think about their draft capital, the cap space that Adam alluded to, the running back position should be addressed in the draft.
Mike's correct. This is a great draft for running backs, but you also need guys to open up holes for those running backs. Of course, so many of these great Cowboys teams over the past 20 years, when they've been good, they've had a very good offensive line, and they're missing some guys from years past. Zach Martin retired. Tyron Smith, Tyler Biadasz left last offseason. That line needs replenishment. Why not attack your divisional rival and go out and get Mekhi Becton, who was a mauler for the Eagles on the interior after moving to guard last year? I think back to someone like Leonard Davis, a Cowboys addition from years past in free agency, who was a great addition for them after moving from tackle inside to guard. Get that big body in there, improve a rushing offense that was so bad in the red zone last year, try to score touchdowns with that new running back in the draft. And I know the Cowboys, like Adam said, they're not going to be a team that goes out and signs 4 or 5 free agents. Maybe that one targeted guy, replenish the offensive line, make that running back's life easier, and make Dak Prescott's life easier as well.
And to that end, spend money on the outside and the guy Becton. You could draft 2 running backs in the draft. We were at the Senior Bowl. It's loaded. You could draft 2 running backs, 3rd and 4th round. They could be frontline starters in the NFL for 5-6 years. All right, speaking of a frontline starter, DK Metcalf wants a trade. He requested one out of Seattle. If there was a team out there, Mike T, that should just go all in on DK, who and why?
Matt, it's the New York Giants. When you're putting together your roster of receivers, you want to look a little bit like a basketball team. You have Malik Neighbors, who's as dynamic and shifty as anybody. And then, wow, the physicality of DK Metcalf on the outside, that would be a perfect complement to Neighbors. We also know Giants are in a win-now mode. That's been well documented. So you could get a veteran like Metcalf, who's great right after the catch, great red zone 3rd down. I think he would be ideal. And Darius Slayton's a free agent, so let one graduate, acquire the other one.
Does he need a quarterback, though? Throw to him?
Yeah.
Yeah, Giants can make sense. I look towards the AFC and a team that already has a quarterback that I wrote about in my column today in DK Metcalf, and that is Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos. And I just think back to all those great Sean Payton offenses in New Orleans. What did they have? They had a big body who could work the middle of the field. It was Marquise Colston, the Hofstra grad, early on. Jimmy Graham, Michael Thomas. I don't know if the Broncos had that guy last year with Bo Nix. Cortland Sutton's a big player, but not the same physicality a DK Metcalf has. Bo Nix was 25th in the league in passer rating on in-breaking routes last year per the NFL's next-gen stats. Get him that big body while you have Bo Nix on a rookie deal. I think that would make total sense for the Broncos, as, of course, like everyone else in the AFC, they try and chase down the Kansas City Chiefs.
And I would bet the Patriots are on Bill's full article on the 10 best landing spots on Metcalf on ESPN.
They sure are.
I would bet, Mike.